See if we'll start recording here.
Recording is on.
All right, great. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to LisaBug Yoga on the Wall today. So if you got my email from last weekend, we are using the wall for a prop. So hopefully you have a space at home where you can use a wall for some of the poses that we're going to do today. If you don't, for some reason, I know oftentimes space is hard at home. So if you don't have a wall space, think of a wall in your brain, in your imagination, because we're going to use the wall to help us with posture and to help us get some proper alignment with a few of our poses. And we might even try the wall for a couple of advanced poses, but I'll always have some options for you. Also using the wall to help us with balance, which is a wonderful thing. So let's see, props I have today also are a block if you have one, and a blanket. And again, not necessary, but we're going to do a couple of things where it might be a little tender on your knee to stretch. So it's nice to have a little blanket there too. And if you've got one, let's start in a seated position on the blanket. And I want you to sit with your back up against the wall. So we are just going to find a nice neutral spine in a gentle cross-leg position. And I want you to notice your sacrum up against the wall, that part of your lower back and hip area, your shoulder blades up against the wall, and the back of your head. It's amazing when we sit oftentimes, even though we think we're sitting up tall, we're a little bit slumped and curved. So this is going to really give us a nice indication of whether or not we're in good seated alignment. Let's just close our eyes and focus on the wall behind us. And focus on the breath. And see if you can sit up just a little taller. And then blink your eyes open and bring your arms to goalpost position. See if you can get your hands to touch the wall behind you. Now this can be a big stretch. So if you are tight in the shoulders and you can't get your hands back to the wall and your entire arms, you can try lowering them down here or taking them out a little bit wider to see if you can get to a place where your hands will touch the wall. And notice the feel of the wall. Maybe it's cool. Maybe it's got some texture to it, a little bit rough or smooth. And then moving with the breath, as you inhale, just lightly touching the wall, sweep your arms up. See if you can still maintain your connection with the wall. And then sweep your arms down with the exhalation. And breathe it in. And breathe it out. Now, all of our alignment and our posture and the shape of our spine is a little bit different. So if this isn't working for you to maintain connection with the wall, just do as best as you can to try to trace it, to try to follow it. And notice if this feels different for you if you were to be sitting away from the wall without that connection. So many of our yoga poses, our standing poses, our alignment should be just like this. So bring your hands out. This is warrior two arms. We don't have shoulders shrugged up, so I want you to press your shoulder blades down away from your ears and lengthen into your fingertips. In warrior two, our entire body faces forward, but we look over the front hand, right? So just begin to turn and look to your right hand. And that should be what it feels like when you're in warrior two. And then turn your head and look towards your left hand. Warrior two. And we'll look with our head one more time to each side, rotating it to the right and rotating to the left. Back to center. Let your arms relax for just a moment. And then keeping your right hand down towards the mat, lift your left arm up as it's floating along the wall and take a side stretch and keep both of your shoulder blades in connection with the wall. So sometimes when we laterally flex our spine, we slightly roll this way, and I'm over exaggerating, but we don't feel like we're doing it until we're up against a wall, and then we realize, oh wow, this is what this needs to feel like when I'm doing a side bend. And then begin to inhale as you come up. Let your arms kind of windmill a little bit as the left hand comes down, the right arm reaches, and side bend. And just make sure your right shoulder didn't come away from the wall. And we'll take it again to the right side, left arm coming up. And this time, pressing that left shoulder to the wall, look up towards this top hand. And this is what reverse warrior should feel like. When you're standing up, doing your reverse warrior, gazing up towards the sky. Shoulders are in alignment. And bring your head back to neutral. Lower that left arm. Sweep the right arm up. Keep your right shoulder blade into the wall and turn your head looking up towards that top hand. And then lower that arm down. Coming back to neutral. So other poses like side angle pose, same thing. We'll work on triangle today too. And our goal is to keep the shoulder blades pressed back to the wall. So let's come into a hands and knees position. If you've got a blanket, you can place it under your knees if you'd like. We'll just begin to move through cat and cow, just a little bit of mobilization of the spine. Take an inhale, gaze forward, drop your belly, lift your tailbone, shoulder blades back. And then exhale, curve the spine up to the sky. It feels like you're pressing your hands forward and really push the top of your feet down into the floor. Again, inhale, gaze forward to cow. And exhale, rounding up into cat. And this time as we come down into our cow, take your right leg behind you, extend it out. Flex your foot, pointing your toes down to the earth. And then pull into your cat, drawing your knee in towards your belly. Extend that leg out. And pull it in. Extend it out and hold, lifting the opposite hand away from the floor. The left thumb is up. We inhale here, nice and long. Exhale, pull the elbow and the knee towards one another. And extend and reach. And elbow to knee. And extend out and hold. Stretch. Nice long neck. Try not to look forward too much. So keep the back of your neck really long. And then come back down to all fours. Send the left leg back, flexing the foot. Really engage the glute. Extend that leg straight. And then pull the knee right in towards the chest, around the back. Inhale, extend it back. Exhale, pull it in. Inhale, extend it back, hold. Lift your right arm up off the floor and the thumb is up as if you were going to shake someone's hand. We haven't been able to do that for a while, have we? And then bring the elbow and the knee together. Inhale, lengthen. Press through that back heel. Exhale, pull it in. And then reach it out. Hold everything nice and long. And then bring it back to all fours. Tuck your toes underneath behind you. Press into the hands. Lift the hips up slowly into downward facing dog. And let your heels drop. Just notice how everything feels in the back side of the body today. If you're feeling a little tight, you can keep your knees bent any amount that you need to. Let's go ahead and keep a right knee bent as we push our left heel down and try to find the earth if we can. And that's just a goal. We don't have to get there. No competition, no judgment. Just see where you are today. And then bend the left knee, press your right heel. Press, press, press. Notice if there's any difference between the right and left sides. And then raise way up on the bones of both feet and the toe bones. Stretch right through the toes. And then let both of your heels sink down. So I have the wall next to the left side of my body, but I'm going to coach you mirroring. So I'm going to say my opposite because you're facing the camera. So I'm going to lift my left leg up, and it might be your right leg. It's the closest leg towards the wall. I'm going to stretch that up nice and high. Reach, reach, reach. And then take a step between your hands and rise up into a warrior two position. So we have our warrior two, and I want you to adjust yourself now to where you're back up against the wall. So we move back, increase some length in your stride, and then press both of your shoulders and maybe even the back of your head to right into the wall. Now you might notice this knee, especially on my leg, it wants to go forward this way. So I want you to peel that knee back so it's right over your foot. It likely won't touch the wall behind you, but you want to have it in that same path. Good. Now into a side angle pose, bringing the right elbow down to the right thigh. Let your left arm trace the wall and reach it up. Now this left hand can even come closer towards your ear into extended side angle, but make sure your left shoulder blade did not come away from the wall. I want you to press, press, press. And if you don't have a wall at home, you get to visualize an imaginary wall behind you. And let's slowly let that left hand trace the wall. Both shoulder blades are really pressed in as we come back to our warrior two. Now take your head and look towards your right hand. Now for me, I'm feeling so much more of a stretch in my neck when I'm keeping my proper alignment against the wall. So you might notice some subtle differences or some really pronounced differences in using the wall here. And you can bring your head back to neutral if you'd like. Taking the left hand down, the right arm reaches up into reverse warrior. And our shoulder blades stay connected with the wall. Does this feel different? It certainly does. Now this hand can press out to the outer thigh. It's kind of hard to wrap it behind your back against the wall, but maybe you can. Maybe you can get it. I've got my fingertips kind of twinkling over here to the side. So if you can get that position, great. And then turn your head and look upward towards that top hand. This is not easy to keep this alignment right up against the wall. So breathe, work at it as best as you can. And then if you have the hand wrapped behind your back, let it slide out. Come back to your warrior two. Shoulder blades down. So my hands are a little bit lower than the tops of my shoulders. We don't ever want to be hunched up here. So just let those shoulder blades relax. Now we'll push into this right foot and straighten the leg. We are going to come into triangle. Now if you have a block and you want to use it, excellent. But sometimes if we're doing this up against the wall, the block actually hinders us rather than helps us. So try to use the wall for support. And reach out to the right side. Stretching, stretching. My left shoulder shouldn't come away from the wall here. It wants to. And then just let your right hand come wherever it might fall. And let your, your right hand, let your left hand glide up. So I would say the biggest misalignment that happens in triangle is we want to get our hand to the floor. And so what happens is to get it there, we reach over like this. And this is what triangle ends up looking like. So think about that wall. And even if you don't have it, imagine the wall behind you and press both shoulder blades. Turn the head up if you'd like, feeling that rotation of the neck. We'll hold here a couple more breaths. Now I like to soften my front knee a little bit before I come up out of triangle. So put a little bit of a bend right in that knee. Push through it and let your hands trace, your shoulder blades trace along the wall and come back up. Let your arms relax. Turn both toes forward and stand straight up against the wall. 5-pointed star, reach. We're going to use the wall to help us in a supported forward fold. So start to swan dive. Your shoulders are now coming away from the wall. Come down, 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 and bring your hands towards the floor. And your buttocks are just pressed right into the wall. Maybe your hands can find the mat or elbows or a block. But just use the wall to help support you here in your forward bend. Another nice position with the arms here are to reach your hands way out in front of you like you're doing a down dog and get an excellent stretch through the upper back without a lot of pressure on your wrists. And we'll hold here just a couple more breaths. And then begin to walk your hands back in. We'll be going into our warrior two on the other side. So if you'd like, you can turn out your left foot and bring yourself up to that warrior two on this side. You take your time to adjust your position so you can get both of your shoulder blades to press into the wall. Ooh, and then think about this knee. What's it doing? Mine wants to migrate forward. So I need to pull it back, get it in alignment with your foot. And in a warrior two, if here, it might be impossible for us to get our entire torso to align forward. So your hips might have to just turn a little bit in order to get that nice positioning of this knee over the foot. And if that happens, it's okay. Just make sure both shoulders are into the wall, maybe even the back of the head too. And we'll come into side angle. So this left hand comes down towards the left thigh. The right arm continues to trace the wall up. And notice how that right shoulder blade wants to come away from the wall. If you want, you can float that arm even further towards the ear, reach. So our wall is a prop to help support us. I'm actually kind of using it to help me balance here. I've got a little bit of body weight up against the wall, but it is our alignment here that we're using it mostly for, just to notice if our body's in the right position. Now use this right side waist here and begin to pull yourself back up, back to your warrior two. Extend through the fingertips, shoulder blades are down. I've got my pinky fingers against the wall. Turn your head to the left and look towards your left fingertips. Feel that stretch in the right side of your neck. Try not to hunch up your shoulder blades. Press down. Then engage your bandhas as you breathe, pulling in and up the mula bandha, our pelvic floor muscles. Engaging Uddiyana bandha, the abdominal lock. We'll bring our head back to neutral. Shifting into reverse warrior, the hands will trace the wall, and it's the opposing movement to our side angle. This hand can feed into the small of the back. I've got a fairly big curve in my back, so I can get my arm back there. But if you don't, you might not be able to feed your hand through without losing your alignment along the wall. And our gaze rotates up. And maybe we can sink down into this pose a little deeper. We are working, and our right shoulder blade should still be pressed back into the wall. And then head comes back to neutral, slide the arm out. Let your hands trace along the wall, coming back up to your warrior two. And then we'll straighten out the left leg, preparing for triangle. So I have both legs straight, both hands along the wall. Reach out, stretch, stretch, stretch. This hip kind of pops out just a little bit. Make sure that your right shoulder blade is still there. And then all you do is just let your fingertips fall wherever they may. And if you can also sink down a little lower from here, but make sure that your shoulder didn't come away from the wall. Head can rotate up. Ooh, this is feeling like a great stretch. Just observe where you're feeling. Keep the breath moving. Maybe the Ujjayi breath. And then to come out of our triangle, slightly bend this left knee and push into the left foot. Trace your hands along the wall. To come back to our warrior two, both shoulder blades pressed. And then bring your hands down. Straighten out this left leg. Pivot your toes forward, 5-pointed star. And swan dive down into your wide leg forward fold. You can reach your hands way out here into that down dog position. Just let your hamstrings stretch, let your head go. Shake it side to side, up and down. Let the wall support you. One more breath in. And exhale. And we'll walk our hands back over to the right side, pivoting on the feet. Drop the left knee down to the mat and come into low lunge. So in low lunge, we want to let this hip drop down to the floor, and we're supported here. Now we can use the wall to help us with our low lunge. So oftentimes in low lunge, an option is we can pull this foot up which really gives us a huge stretch here. But sometimes it's hard for us to get a hold of that foot, either with our hand or a strap. So we're going to support this left foot behind us. I'm going to turn to face you and get into that same low lunge position. So what I want to do is bring my left foot up against the wall just a little bit and take a step forward with my right. So it's kind of hard to see from this angle, but I have my left foot right up against the wall here, either the toes or the, can turn it under, follow the foot or the top of the feet. So I can sit up pretty good here and feel this nice quad stretch. The further and closer you come to the wall, the more and the more you're going to be feeling this. This is a good thing to have our blanket here underneath the knee. So we're going to take about 1.5 minutes to hold this stretch, and I want you to experiment with how close you can bring your knee back towards the wall, how much you can bend that back knee to get your quad stretch here. To get a little bit more, we can bring the arms up and extend through the fingertips. If it's too much stretch on that back quad, you can let your hands come down to the floor. That's going to be a little bit less. Or maybe not even using the wall at all. Just hold and breathe. So I'm not directly on top of this knee behind me. It's back behind my hip a little bit. So I can open up through the hip flexor and through that left quadricep. We have 30 seconds to hold. Keep breathing. And the wall is helping us stretch. It's also helping me keep my balance because I have that little connection with the wall behind me. File these feelings in your body, in your mind, because I want you to be able to compare this with the other side. So we begin to move there. So bring your hands down, come away from the wall, and then we'll move ourselves into the stretch on the other side. So we can go away from the wall first if you'd like. Stepping that left leg forward. Nice low lunge here. And at home, if you don't have the wall and you're pretty flexible, you can reach back for the ankle, pull it up towards you, or use a strap as well. And if we have the wall, let's give it a try and see where we can go with this. So I'm going to walk my right knee back towards the wall any amount, and then just give it a try and see where I can come up and feel a stretch. Ooh. On a scale of 1 to 10, for me, that's up there around an 8. So I think I want to stay here. But you can keep backing up a little closer. And again, we can reach the arms up from here. The wall is helping us stretch and helping us with balance. If it gets too much, hands can come down and just inch your knee slightly away from the wall, and then try to come up again and see if that feels a little better. Shoulder blades down, and we breathe. This particular technique up against the wall, we can use this in pigeon also. So rather than being up in low lunge on this front leg, you can have this leg in pigeon pose with your knee back behind you towards the wall and let it support that bent knee. So it's a beautiful technique to use to assist with our stretches. And we have 30 seconds. If you'd like to, just close your eyes. Find your Ujjayi breath. Relax the muscles. Nothing gripping, nothing too tight. And if you need to come out of these poses sooner, do what's best for your body today in your yoga practice. Let's take one more breath. Inhale and exhale. We'll Bring the hands down and come away from the wall. You can come back to hands and knees and then tuck the toes, let the hips lift into down dog, and then walk the hands towards the feet or the feet towards the hands. Come into a forward bend. Maybe ragdoll pose. We can hang here. Let everything elongate and stretch. And then soften those knees, release the arms. Inhale, rise all the way up, reach to the fingertips. Press palms and exhale. Okay, using the wall for balance poses. So probably won't need your blanket at the moment, so we can have that out of the way, but you may need your block. A challenging pose for a lot of people is half moon. And getting that half moon position is difficult because we're working on balance and we're a little bit shaky, so it's hard to get that right alignment. The wall is our friend with half moon. So I have the block over to my right side. And I'm going to turn my body so my right foot is in front, left foot is behind me. I'm going to reach this right hand down to the block and lift the left foot up off the floor. So the hard part about half moon is to get the body to open up. So my fingertips just gently using the block here. I have my right leg touching the wall at my buttock on the right side. And my left heel is touching the wall. And your hips need to start to stack. So I'm going to bring this left hip right on top of the right, bring my left shoulder blade right to the wall, and reach up through the fingertips. Now, if I had a pair of pants on that had a seam going down the outside of my leg, the seam of my pants would be facing the ceiling. So my toes aren't turning up or they're not turning down. My toes are right toward you. And I have nice, strong, tightened muscles hugging the bone. Gaze can turn up towards that upper fingertips. The wall is a wonderful technique to work on our half moon. And then you can even take the block away and float this. But it gives us the proper alignment here for half moon. Let's take 2 more breaths here. Breathe, breathe. And then I'm going to put a little bend in my standing knee, trace the wall, and come up. Oh, I wish I could see all of you. It'd be so exciting to be back in our classes at the Blaisdell Y and be able to see all of you. I can't wait. Okay, let's bring our block over to the other side. So take your time to get into that position. So we're standing on the left foot, reaching down to the block, that left hand, and your block is right underneath your shoulder, pretty close to that. And then the first thing we want to do is get the hips up against the wall as much as we can to stack, and then get this top shoulder to come into connection with the wall. That arm reaches, and then your toes are facing forward with the outside edge of your leg facing the ceiling. So with half moon, as much as possible, this is a 90-degree angle between this bottom leg and the top leg. So this leg isn't down here, or it's not up too high. And it's about a 90-degree angle from your torso and the other leg. So the hard part about half moon, if you don't use a block, is it starts to look like this. And that's really not proper alignment for half moon. So you either do use a block to bring you up, or you float your hand off the floor. Let's turn our gaze upward, looking, breathing. And then gaze comes back to the front. Put a little bitty bend in your supporting leg, and with your core, pull yourself up along the wall. Nicely done. Okay, standing pigeon pose using the wall. So I'm going to turn with my right shoulder towards the wall to use it for balance. And standing on my right leg, pick up the left knee, cross the ankle over your left thigh, and then begin to sit down into the standing pigeon. I'm just going to let my hand trace the wall and use it for balance as much as I need to. And then once you find your stabilization, you can let go, but it's always there to help you. And I never want you to feel like holding onto the wall is a crutch for balance work. It's really not. That kind of has a negative connotation, because there's so much to be aware of and to think about in a balance pose. So if we can, not fall out of it all the time or not waver too much, we can have more success in our balance poses. So if we need to use that wall, use it, and it helps you to get stronger, helps your balance to get better. Press through that standing leg, maybe using that wall for support, and we rise up. Facing the other direction, our standing pigeon. So it's important in standing pigeon that when you lift this knee up, you flex your foot so it's not pointed or relaxed. Cross that ankle over. The flexion of the foot helps us to brace these muscles around the knee and to keep everything safe so that your knee is not twisting in this pose and you're getting the feel right where we want it in the deep external rotators of the hip. So holding the wall if you need it, or let your hand come away. And the more you can sink the upper body forward, that's where we feel the intensity of the stretch. Feel the little muscles in your feet and your ankles of the standing leg working. Your toes even slightly gripping the mat to help support you. And then always looking at a focal point, a drishti, to maintain that visual assistance to hold your balance pose. One more breath in. And exhale, we come up. Turning back with your right side up against the wall for dancer pose. So with dancer, we need to be able to catch hold of the ankle. And I'm going to do my left side first and be able to pull the knee directly down to the floor. And the wall is here to help us balance here. Now I'm turned directly side on the wall so that I can start to tip forward into dancer, and this knee comes back first. If you have a hard time getting hold of your ankle, use a strap around your ankle so you can hold on to it. Or if you have long pants, you can grab a hold of your pant leg. And then we're going to start to trace the wall as we reach out any amount. And we keep lifting this knee up, up, up. And I'm doing that by firing my left glute, lifting that leg, and keep reaching out along the wall. All I'm using really is my right pinky finger to help me support here. Let's take 3 more breaths in dancer. You don't have to be tipped forward. You can still be straight back up. A little micro bend in your standing leg. And when you're ready, rise back up with control and release that foot. And facing the opposite direction, dancer pose, using left hand on the wall, right hand catches the ankle. And just pull the knee down first, feeling that stretch in the quad. I'm pretty a tight quadricep person, so I feel this a lot already. If you are too, you can stay right where you are, or let your fingertips trace the wall as you begin to hinge forward. So one of the common misalignments I see with dancer is it looks like this. Holding on to this foot for dear life, but there's no stretch in the quad. What we have to do is get this knee back. It's like a bow pose, really. It's a little bit of a back bend. We feel that quad stretch. And the heel doesn't have to be pressed right against the buttocks. We actually want to press it away so we can get the leg to lift a little more. Just a couple more breaths. Find your edge and breathe. And then slowly pull it back up. And release the ankle. Shake out those legs a little bit. And then we are going to come into dolphin pose. So dolphin, let's take a nice big swan dive. Inhale, exhale and swan dive forward into your forward bend. And then walk your feet back behind you, coming into down dog. So dolphin pose is a variation of down dog, and we are on our elbows and forearms. So we can come down to the knees first, and we interlace the palms of the hands and set the elbows and the forearms down. Now what's most important about dolphin is that we not spread our elbows too far out this way. We want to bring them in so that they're right underneath the shoulders. So we have our right forearm pressed into the mat, our left, and the back of the fists. And then we press up into that down dog position. And then try to bring your ears right into your biceps. So this would be improper if my head was forward. So I want to keep pushing it back until my ears are sandwiched right between my upper arms. And then I want you to try to lift one leg up off the mat. Stretch it up. And bring it down. And the other leg, reach it up. And bring it down. Then drop your knees back down to the floor. So we are going to use our wall today to come up into a forearm stand. If you do not want to do that today, you are going to do your dolphin again with one leg up and then the other, just like we did before. If you want to use your wall, I have you turn so the wall is behind you. Make your dolphin position, bringing your elbows down, that nice triangle. Elbows are right under the shoulder, everything's fully supported. And then tuck your toes and lift your hips so you're into dolphin. I have my heels against the wall. And let's try taking our right leg and just reach it up the wall and put the ball of your foot against the wall. Should feel nice and stable. And then bring it down. Take your left leg, reach it up, ball of the foot connects with the wall, and down. So if you'd like, you can do that again on each side, or we can put a foot up against the wall, really brace your shoulders, and see if you can take your other leg up. So if you are inverted, try not to shrug into your shoulders, and you can lift one leg above the wall, and down, and then the other. So there's a lot of levels here with this. I want you to do what feels best for you. We are going to hold 5 more breaths, or your feet can come down at any time. And then choose a leg to come down first, and then the other. Drop your knees down and rest in child's pose, either reaching the hands out to the top of the mat or bringing them next to the sides of the body. Relax your shoulders. So our next option is to try this from the hands. If you're not using the wall to go up into that inversion, I just want you to do downward facing dog. So we reach our hands out, tuck the toes, lift the hips, and be really close to the wall with your heels. Engage through your shoulders, everything is broadened. Spread your fingers nice and wide. And we'll take our right leg and see if you can reach it up the wall. Now, the more flexible you are, the closer you're going to be to the wall to get into this position. And then bring that right leg down. Take your left leg up. You don't need to use the wall. You can just be lifting your leg from down dog, doing a three-legged dog. Or you can come down to the elbows and do your dolphin again. And then you can do each side again one more time, or press into the wall and walk both feet up, supported in handstand. One foot can come away, and then the other. If you're not feeling secure, be sure to come down, not toppling over. And your feet don't have to be super high. They can be halfway up the wall. And let's hold wherever you are for 3 more breaths. Slowly, slowly, bring one foot down, the other, drop your knees, and take your child's pose. You might need a couple circles for your wrists. Relax your shoulders and breathe. Now we're going to set up for legs up the wall. So some things that I like to use for legs up the wall, you can use a block to support your hips if you'd like, or a blanket is wonderful. So I'm going to take my blanket and actually fold it a couple of times so it's elevated up so I can really lift my hips up in my legs up the wall. And my blanket's going to go right up the wall. Now the hard part about getting into legs up the wall is getting into it. If we just try to lay down and scoot our butt forward to get it close to the wall, it's awkward and it doesn't really work too well. So I want to teach you how to get into legs up the wall. So the key is what I call the ninja roll. So I'm going to sit down on the floor off of this blanket that my hips are going to eventually be on. And I'm going to sit really close to the wall. I've got the whole side of my body up against the wall. And then I'm going to lay my shoulder down onto the floor. And then I'm going to really keep scooting my buttocks right up against the wall. So I am laying on my side and my hips are against the wall. These knees are bent here. From here, all I'm going to do is roll back until my legs find their position. And it absolutely works perfectly. So I have the blanket underneath the hips. And what that does is it helps us to speed along the venous return of the blood from the legs, the lower extremities, working its way back towards the heart. Now, as we hold our legs up the wall, I'm going to give you one more opportunity for an inversion, being very careful, coming up into an assisted shoulder stand. So if you bend your knees a little bit and place your feet right on the wall, you can push into your feet and begin to lift up, up, up with your hips, coming onto the broad portion of your shoulder blades. So you should never feel any tension here in your neck. So your chin is not jammed up towards your sternum. Your neck is long in front. If you want, you can bring your elbows to the floor and put the palms of your hands underneath your hips, and you can try lifting one leg off the wall, maybe the other. Or if you feel comfortable, you can lift both legs up or just keep them feet on the wall. And as you push into the wall with your feet, you can keep bringing your hips to stack a little bit more over your shoulders. Now, if you have neck issues at all, this is contraindicated. We shouldn't be doing shoulder stands if we have any neck issues or osteoporosis or arthritis in the neck. But using the wall, I can actually guide myself down a little bit. So I'm still lifted maybe halfway up. So I'm in a partial shoulder stand, and it works fantastic. So wherever you're at here, let's take about 5 more breaths. And then if your hips are lifted, just slowly begin to lower them down until they find the blanket or the mat. And extend your legs back up into legs up the wall. If you have space to your right and left side, let your legs begin to open. My heels are touching the wall, my buttocks touching the wall, and I'm going to hold a wide leg stretch. And then just relax the inner thighs and let gravity pull your legs open, stretching through the adductors, the hips, a little bit of hamstrings as well. Arms are either by your side, or you can place them in cactus arms or reach them above the head. If this is uncomfortable, you can close your legs back together. If you don't have a wall today, you can just hug your knees into your chest or use a strap under the bottoms of your feet to hold your legs straight up. Begin to let the breath calm. I invite you to stay here as long as you'd like. It's nice to hold legs up the wall at least 4 to 5 minutes time to really feel the benefit of the pose. You can also close your legs at any time and stay in legs up the wall, but keep them straight up. Some ankle flexion points are really nice here just to pump the ankles. Or you can relax the feet. If you have an eye pillow at home, you can place it over your eyelids. And bring your awareness to the breath. Slowly breathing in and out through the nose. If your legs are up, allow them to feel heavy. The bones of the thighs pressing into the back of the hip socket. But you might also have the sensation of your legs getting lighter and lighter as the blood flows away from the capillaries, down the series of one-way valves, emptying from the legs towards the heart. We're going to be here for a couple more minutes, and I'll use the singing bowl to bring you out of your pose. So just soften everything, just relax, eyes are closed. Stay fully present on the breath, on the body. Try not to allow any thoughts to intrude. This is your peaceful place. This is your serenity. Just feeling that vibration of the singing bowl. Bring your awareness back to the breath and to the body, to the mind, to the emotions. Noticing how you feel today after your practice. So coming away from the wall, the easiest way for you, maybe reach one arm above your head, bend your knees, let them float down the wall a little bit, and then just roll over to one side. You can stay there for a couple of breaths. And then when you feel the time is right, use the strength of your arms and press yourself back up to a comfortable seat. And if you can, once you arrive seated, finding the wall again, coming full circle where we began our practice today. Feeling the backs of the shoulder blades pressing into the wall. And taking a couple of breaths here, Let our arms float up and trace the wall as we did as we opened our practice. Just noticing if you're feeling a little bit more freedom in your shoulders, a little bit more mobility. Take one more breath, reaching up. Press the palms together, drop your thumbs to your heart center, or Anjali Mudra. This is our sign of gratitude and of honor, and I am so grateful, more grateful than you'll ever know, for you joining me on this journey. It means so much to me. And we honor one another from our homes as we share and sing. Namaste. Thank you much, everyone. I'll turn our recording off, and I'd love to see who's on board with me today. Thank you for joining me.